Today we learned about how God passed over His people in the Exodus. Okay, for the 10th plague, God went throughout Egypt and killed every firstborn child in the land, except the firstborn childs of the houses of His people. Now God had given His people a special instruction through Moses so that they would be safe. And this special instruction involved the killing of a lamb and using its blood to paint the doorposts on their house, so that when God visited Egypt with His judgment, He would see the blood on the doorposts and pass over that house. But for the Egyptian houses, where there was no blood on the doorposts, God's judgment would fall onto that house, and the firstborn of that family would die. Alright, and for step 1, we're going to be turning this piece of cardboard, or you can use a piece of card paper, and we're going to be turning it into this, a house. Alright, so what you want to do for the first step is you want to make all these measurements, okay? You mark them out with a pencil, and then later on with a darker pen if you want to. Okay, so it's just 4 squares here, 10 cm, 10.5 cm. Alright, just measure them out with your ruler and draw straight lines. Okay, and then the roof section here is going to be 4 cm tall from the middle and 5 cm wide from the side. Okay, and it's going to be equal lengths on both sides. And repeat that again on third square. Okay, so first square, second square, third square, fourth square. And then this is for the roof. We're going to have 9.5 cm and then 13.5 cm. Okay, once you've made all the lines, you can start cutting them out. Let's start cutting. Alright, now that we've got our cutout, we're going to cut out this area for the door, this area for the windows, and this area for another window. Alright, the door is going to be 5 cm wide and 7 cm high, and the window is going to be 6 cm wide and 4 cm high. Okay, so once you've marked that out with your pencil and ruler, you can start cutting it out. Now we're going to cut this part out, and for these dotted lines we're going to cut them but not all the way through, so like a half cut, so that it's easier for us to fold them later. Okay, so now you can just fold it. Okay. Okay, and now we're gonna tape this up to close the house. Alright, so put a piece of tape here and another piece of tape here. And we're gonna fit these two sides of the wall together. We're gonna press the tape down from the inside. now we've got our 4 sides of the house. Alright, now we're gonna get a flat sheet of cardboard like this, and we're gonna mark it out. This is our ground sheet, and this is where we're gonna place our houses. First one over there, and the first one over there. So we wanna make sure that our sheet is large enough for both houses and for us to draw this arrow. Okay, this large arrow is gonna be representing God's judgment. Okay, and when God judged Egypt in the 10th plague, he passed over his own people. So this house over here is going to represent the Israelite house, but his judgment went against the Egyptians. And this house is going to represent the Egyptian house. Alright, and later we're going to paint this arrow red. Okay, and then we're going to write the words, God passes over his people. Craft today, and our lesson today is based on the Exodus. Okay, so Exodus chapter 12. Now we're going to be gluing our houses on to the ground sheet. Okay, so for the first house, we're gonna make sure that the door is facing this way, so God passes over. He doesn't go into the door. God's judgment passes over. And for the other house, we want to show that God's judgment is going to go into the house. So the door is going to be facing the arrow. Alright, so what we're going to do, we're going to put them aside first. And we're going to apply glue along the outline of the houses. And we'll leave that to dry. Now let's do the other house. Alright, now the reason why God's judgment passes over his people is because of the special instructions that God gave to his people through Moses. And they were instructed to kill a lamb. And that lamb would act as a substitute for the firstborn child in that house. And they were to take the blood of that lamb and paint it onto the doorposts of their house. And in this way, they would be saved from God's judgment. But the houses where there was no blood of the lamb painted on the doorposts, God's judgment would fall on that family. Okay, so we're gonna use some red paint. We've got some red paint here, and we're gonna use that to represent the blood. Okay, and we're gonna be painting it onto the doorposts of the Israelite house, the one that God's judgment passes over, and not the Egyptian house where God's judgment enters. Okay, so we're gonna paint the doorpost red. Now we're going to be painting this arrow representing God's judgment red as well. Alright, and now we are done with the craft. All that's left is to write our names. You can write your name on the roof or wherever you would like.